Ukraine has been in a state of war, which the Russian Federation unleashed against us for 4 years now. Sometimes it seems that this war will never end. The country fights for its future every single day on all fronts: diplomatic, economic, and of course, on the front line. And the best sons of the Ukrainian people give the most valuable thing for the future of their country: their lives and health. They defeat the aggressor on the front, and in the rear they challenge the most formidable opponent, themselves, in tough circumstances. To lose both legs even above the knees, at the age of 28 sometimes I feel inadequate. But every time I prove to myself that I must go forward and not give up. And those things that you thought you could not do, you do them. So I think that this war inside me will last till the end of my days. Oleksandr Chalapchiy knows it well. If you found the strength to fight against yourself, you've already defeated the most dangerous enemy. Born in the town of Kropivnitsky, he was on Maidan from the first days of the Revolution of Dignity. When Russia annexed Crimea and forcibly entered Ukraine's Donbas, Chalapchiy went to the conscription office. Thousands of his fellow countrymen expressed the will and desire to defend their homeland, with weapons in their hands. In so doing, they dispelled the myth of the devotion of the people of central Ukraine to the so-called Russian world. According to statistics for 2014, Kirovohrad region provided the most conscripted troops and volunteers per capita to the front line. There were attempts to derail it, but we organized self-defense in 2014. They were nipped in the bud. Oleksandr Chalapchiy didn't get to the front line as part of the first wave of mobilization. He was kept in reserve, so the guy helped soldiers from the rear. Chalapchiy's first trip to the front line as a volunteer changed everything. We collected humanitarian aid, uniforms, and everything that was needed, and went to the front line. I saw that everything was in a terrible state. Lots of things missing, not enough people. After that I returned, took my papers from the battalion commander, and came to the conscription office, handed them in, and went to the front line. In the fall of 2014, Oleksandr was serving with his unit near the Pivdenna coal mine, Leninsky village. On 28 September at 5 a.m., he went to reinstall the signal landmines, and when he was returning, he was hit by an enemy mortar crew. The burst of Russian shells also activated landmines in the gray zone. It was likely set off after an 82mm mortar shell flew down, because a double explosion was heard there. The 82 activated the landmine. Judging by the nature of the damage, the lower part of his body suffered. He was close to his own landmine, but it was activated by the 82 mortars. When his legs were torn off, he put the leg harness on himself and called for help on the radio in a calm voice. Knowing his cheerful nature, the guys took it as a joke, because the voice did not mention any serious injuries, and the report was something like, "I do not have my legs, help to evacuate me." Chalapchiy was taken to the hospital in Dzerzhinsk, where he stayed for 4 days. Later, his wife took Sasha to the capital. Through huge efforts and numerous complicated operations, doctors in Kyiv barely managed to save Chalapchiy's life. Oleksandr Chalapchiy lost both his legs in the war. He had a difficult choice before him: to immerse himself in severe depression forever, or to adapt to new conditions and fight himself. The character of a winner and the support of his wife and 2 daughters helped Chalapchiy make the right choice. He began to look for new challenges, and the basis of his philosophy was rehabilitation through sports. I practiced boxing as a child, from the 5th grade till vocational school. Then I joined a special purpose unit called Tiger. There were heavy loads there too. Then I worked in the police, after that as a teacher in a vocational school. So I was involved in sports a little bit in my youth. Chalapchiy turned from a seriously wounded veteran into an athlete with self-confidence. First, he mastered the use of his artificial limbs. By comparison, just 10% of patients with such high amputation managed to learn how to walk using artificial limbs. He fell, got up, then fell again, but he got up again every time. This victory over oneself opened up new horizons for this Ukrainian soldier. He's always got some plans. I say to him, son, that is not going to work out. It's very difficult. He's silent. And then a month later, he phones me to say, I did it. It was during this period that there was talk for the first time in Ukraine about the Invictus Games, multidisciplinary competitions for former and servant military personnel who received illnesses, injuries or wounds as a result of their participation in hostilities. The games have been held since 2014 at the initiative of British royal family member Prince Harry. Our homeland has been part of the big family of the Invictus Games since 2017. Many people think I was wounded and no one wants me anymore. That's it. But there is a kind of a clan in the military where there is the opportunity to find yourself and receive support. You may not be supported at home, you may not be supported on the street, but you'll always get support here. Oleksandr Chalapchiy gets the necessary support both at home and in sports, but the nature of the wounds significantly narrowed the scope of our hero's capabilities. In which sport at the Invictus Games can he test his strengths? For those guys who have very serious functional limitations, only the bow is actually available for them. Archery, the sitting bike, cycling disciplines are not available for those who are in wheelchairs, right? And this is an area that we must develop. And the second point is what we must definitely do to expand our functional categories. Sitting or recumbent bicycles are not present at all in Ukraine, whether in veteran sports or in the Paralympics. And who knows what kind of sport Oleksandr would have been playing if it were not for his visit to the US. In 2017, he and fellow soldiers took part in the traditional Marine Marathon in Washington. The Ukrainian diaspora there bought a special handbike for Chalapchiy. The beginning of a new page in Oleksandr's sporting biography was created. The way I first sat down there and wrote, there's nothing complicated. One thing that I still had to learn is how to change gears correctly and to train and train, because without training, no matter how cool the bicycle is, there will be no benefit from it. There is a bike, but no riding technique. Returning to his homeland, Oleksandr Chalapchiy began to get ready for the qualifiers of the Invictus Games. Cycling trainers are racking their brains over the technical and tactical elements. Well, all of this is new. Frankly speaking, it's even hard to imagine what tactics there can be. The tactic is the usual. It can be roughly equated to a bike race. The distance is the same. So we'll try to use this tactic. 250 participants compete for 15 licenses for the Invictus Games. National qualifiers for the Invictus Games were held in Kiev. Among the contenders for a place in the country's main team is the unique cyclist Oleksandr Chalapchiy. I would like to emphasize that heroes are those who do what they can. Others simply do not do it, but you did. You did this when you took the decision for yourself and went to defend your homeland. You have already become winners. You have already become heroes. Ukraine performed at the Invictus Games for the first time in 2017. In Canada, our team really raised the bar high through its result, and the whole world began talking about Ukrainian warrior athletes. But a title is much harder to defend than to win. The national team of 2017 proudly carried the banners through all of Toronto. Ukraine showed itself to be a unique team. Just as Prince Harry said, we won 14 medals, and today we hand over these banners to you. We believe in you because you are Ukrainians. You are power.
І сьогодні ці знамена ми передаємо вам. Ми вас віримо, тому що ви українці, ви сила.
As a result of the national qualifiers, Oleksandr Chalapchiy won a coveted ticket to the Invictus Games. He's one of 15 Ukrainians who will enter the arena of the Australian city of Sydney in October. Chalapchiy will be the first Ukrainian athlete to compete in a hand-bike race. He's already rewritten history, but he's not going to rest on his laurels. People who cannot walk bring stadiums to their feet. People who cannot see, their flag rises above all others. People who cannot hear their anthem plays the loudest. Each of us has potential energy. You need to invest in yourself. The 2018 Invictus Games will start in late October. Oleksandr Chalapchiy works hard in pre-season training and improves his performance every single day. As of today, I see that Sasha is ready and morally very strong, so I think that he will succeed, and there are no problems. He performs all his tasks and loads. He works hard and plays hard. He constantly finds opportunities on his life journey and does not search for reasons and justification. It turns out that our hero's play is also quite active. Oleksandr Chalapchiy is a successful businessman in the agricultural sector, so he has more than enough things to do in his spare time. I'm now completely refitting the mixed fodder production line. I also have some land, 2 hectares. Now I want to win a tender for the installation of solar panels with the capacity of 1 megawatt. He's now being called one of the contenders for medals at the Invictus Games. However, Sasha understands that this story is not just about places on a pedestal. I'm not here for medals or PR, but only to support those guys who are wounded, who have fallen into despair. There's no reason to fall into despair, so just look ahead. Whatever the wound, whatever the complexity of it, the main thing is here. It's possible to do more without legs than with hands and legs. Between training sessions, Chalapchiy visited fellow troops from the frontline. He can count on getting serious support at the Invictus Games. They handed him the flag of the 34th Battalion there. Sasha promised that this flag will definitely be there at the Games. The entire 34th Battalion and 57th Brigade will watch and support, including me, of course. We have a very strong friendship with Oleksandr. Last year, the national cycling team of Ukraine was unable to win medals at the Invictus Games. The best result was the 4th place finish of Pavlo Mamontov. The calm and focused Oleksandr Chalapchiy will do his best in the name of a higher goal. Alexander Zazulak, Serhiy Shimchak and Denis Fishchuk are also members of our cycling team, so let's support our boys.